All right, video number 2 in a series where I'm answering a couple of questions or commenting really more or less on a couple of questions that were asked by Matt Slick that Deconverted Man responded to. First off, I want to say with regards to 19 and 20, they are questions of morality, and I disagree with Deconverted Man, and I want to get this out at the beginning. I like Deconverted Man, so this is not in any way meant to be disparaging towards him. I just disagree with him fundamentally on his answers to the question. The first question was, where does morality come from? And he gave a cute answer about it coming from lobsters and gave, sort of an argument that, irrefutable argument, as he would put it, to why that is. But his serious answer is that it comes from us. And I'm not going to get too deep into that answer other than to just say I don't think it comes from us any more than mathematics comes from us. Ultimately, it's something that I think we utilize, we sort of discover, but ultimately mathematics is something that we discovered empirically, I think, and then we developed a concept around it. And that's the way I believe morality to be. Now, the question 20 will help me explain a little bit more why. And I should say before I go any further, I'm on a quest when it comes to this issue as well, the issue of ethics. So I'm not claiming here to have any concrete knowledge on the subject of, absolute, right, knowledge on the subject, but certain concepts make sense to me and certain concepts don't. And the notion of subjectivity and utilitarianism make no sense to me. And the question 20 from Matt Slick was, are morals absolute? And the answer given by Deconverted Man was, no, they're not. They are something that have changed over time. They're sort of similar to our human evolutionary, biological evolution, and that they've changed over time, and that they are essentially a utilitarian-based thing, the greatest good for the greatest many, whatever suits society or serves society best at the point in time, and that it can't be absolute because that restricts you as you discover new things, as you learn more about the natural world, and as the needs of society change, you need to be able to alter your moral progress accordingly. This is a discussion that we've been engaged in my channel before, and it's one that still makes no sense to me in terms of there being no sort of absolute moral standard, i.e. morality being purely subjective. If there's no right and there's no wrong, in fact, I think one of the other questions was, what is evil? What is your definition of evil? And Deconverted Man's answer was, evil is a term that we devise to describe things we don't like. I think that is sort of more of this subjectivism being shoehorned in somewhere. I think that's a disingenuous use of the term evil. Why don't we just say we don't like something? To say that, the utilitarian subjective argument represents morality doesn't solve a lot of the problems that we have. And I think it's maybe disingenuous or just unfortunate use of language, but it's misleading. We mislead people by that. So you say the greatest good for the greatest number. By whose standard? Whose definition of good? If you say there's no real such thing as good or bad, and that evil is just a definition of something we don't like, then when we call something evil, we're really only saying, I don't like that. I don't like the repression of women in Muslim countries. I don't like that some women have been killed for trying to get an education. I don't like that. Okay, someone else might like that. What is the standard that allows you to act upon your like more than what other people like? And if you're going to say that it is sort of a majority rule, then really all you're talking about is a tyranny of the majority. If it's the greatest good for the greatest many, you still have to figure out what good actually is. Is good just then stuff we like? Evil is stuff that we don't like, and good is stuff that we like? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I like a lot of things that also don't enter the moral realm. I like ice cream or something. Does that does that hold the same moral weight as I like to kill people for fun, you know? And of course, the immediate example that Deconverted Man went to is the lifeboat scenario. If an alien came and said, or aliens came and said, kill this one person and you can save the entire human species. Again, with the lifeboat scenarios, A, they never happen. When has kill one person and save the entire planet been morally proposed to someone? Second of all, of course, in this situation, we're putting the morality, the moral position on the wrong individual. The immoral agent here, or the moral agent, is the aliens who are suggesting two immoral acts, right? Either kill this person or we're going to kill everyone. If we agree that killing is immoral, whichever way you come to that, then these are two immoral acts. The person being asked to act in that point, in that moment, is not the moral agent. They don't have a moral choice to make. That doesn't mean to say that you couldn't act on that and kill the one person in hopes of saving the rest of humanity. But that doesn't make the killing moral somehow. This is the problem I have with utilitarianism. Is utilitarianism, I think in a basic sense, in a broad sense, says the morality of an act is determined based on its outcome and its effect on the majority of people. And I would say that the morality of an act is determined by the act itself, not its impact on the greatest number of people. The interesting thing is, you know, the idea of subjectivity is thrown around so much. In other words, there's no right and there's no wrong. There's no real evil. There's just stuff we like and stuff we don't like. And how is it that then you export that? Okay, so let's use the argument that within your own country, through your process, you're able to determine morality based on subjectivity and utilitarianism, i.e. will of the majority, really, is what you're talking about. I would suggest tyranny of the majority. You know, there's an old quote about democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. To me, this is what you're describing here. However, let's just say you're able to successfully do that within your group of people. How do you export that? If it is purely subjective and there's no truly evil, there's no true wrong, there's just subjective likes and dislikes, how is it that you export your notion of morality to a third party, to another country that doesn't allow women, for instance, the freedom to go to school or to drive cars and things like that, and stones them to death if they accuse someone of rape or something because they were actually in a car with two men and they weren't supposed to be, or whatever the case is? How are you exporting your morality? Maybe they've come to the conclusion in their country that represents the greatest good for the greatest number. I don't know based on whose subjective opinion, but it just doesn't make any sense. You can't export that. And we do. We say that's wrong. We say that's evil. We say that's immoral. And if people are using those words to describe that and attempting to export their own morality to another population, they're being disingenuous. They're being dishonest. I think that there's a need to cling for some reason to this idea of subjectivism and nothing being absolute in terms of morality, but we act as though it is. We say that is wrong. That man in that other country over there raped that baby, that is wrong. We use this absolute terminology to describe these things. And again, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but there's a disconnect here between what we say and what we do. Now, Deconverted Man also mentioned that we need to be, that ethics or morality can't be absolute because we need to have the ability, the flexibility to be able to adapt as we learn more about our natural world and that sort of thing. And I think he's actually right, but for the wrong reasons. He's right that we need to be flexible. I think we need to be flexible in terms of our assessment of what is ethical and what is not ethical. This is how we've come to terms with slavery and many other things, the rights of women and all kinds of other things. And yes, we have changed over time. That doesn't mean that morality, that what is moral, what is evil, what is good, have changed over time. Our understanding of those things has improved over time. I mean, if morality is just what serves society the best at that moment in time, can you really say that slavery was wrong? Or are you saying that slavery was right at that time, but today it's wrong because we have a different understanding? No, it was always wrong. That's the point. It was always wrong at all points in time and everywhere. Our understanding of that is what has changed. And if we change, if our ethics change over time from this point on, hopefully it will be because of a better understanding of ethics. And I think that represents kind of a danger zone there for regression, right? It's possible at any point in time for humanity to regress morally because of a change in understanding, or maybe even a religious awakening, because a lot of the things that, of course, are tied to religiosity based on the texts are, I would say, immoral and unethical, demonstrably so. But if we're going to use those as our fundamental basis, we could regress. I mean, this is some of kind of what the argument du jour is about human rights and some of these laws that are being passed in different states and that sort of thing. So yeah, we need to be flexible, but we need to be flexible with an adherence to empiricism and rationality in our discovery of ethics. Right? That's sort of my take on it. And I will say I'm a little bit rusty in discussing this topic, so I may have used some sloppy terminology in this video. If I get enough response from this video, then I might delve back into the subject a little bit more and try to sharpen up my pencil again a little bit, because it's been many months since we discussed the topic of ethics. But I don't think you can square this circle of subjective utilitarian ethics. It just doesn't work. You can't export it. You can't really ever claim anything to be immoral, because really all you're saying is you don't like it. And if you have a large group of people that all agree on the same thing, then again, what you're talking about is a tyranny of the majority. And, flexibility should just be about discovering ethics, not saying we need to be prepared. People seem to have this fear of uncovering or just determining an absolute moral standard that it will constrain them somehow, restrain them somehow. That's the fucking idea about of ethics in the first place, right? Is that it's about sort of restraining behavior and at least choosing right behavior if you're going to do that. How do you choose right behavior if it's just based on what you like? Then whatever you like is right. Anyway, let me know what you think as always, and thanks for watching.